You are listening to the ReRACEables Podcast. Welcome to the ReRACEables Podcast. Welcome to the ReRACEables Podcast with sad Tom and rather chipper Nicole and Josh.
Hello.
Folks, it's not a good day. It's not a good day for Tom and his beloved Jocelyn and Victor. The long leg in Vietnam ends with my number one team, Jocelyn and Victor, out.
It was time.
Okay, so they were bitten by the Boston Robbin Amber syndrome. Early success, start the race hot, first place, 10th place with a lucky get out of jail free, dead last. But why did they lose? Why are they the ones out?
The final leg. I mean, that final challenge was a game changer. It was an equalizer. Anyone who could have gotten it just found it. You know, there's an element of luck in this game, and I think that was this.
But also, the previous half of the leg set them up to be at the bottom end of the contestants. So that also did not help.
Sure.
It's not like they made some giant mistake. It's not for a lack of ability in a challenge. Again, they were playing another home game at the Detour with picking up fish.
And nobody made any giant mistakes.
That's part of it too. Definitely. I think you're right, Josh. It just comes down to this luck of the draw. I mean, you literally see Milena and Andrea go from being the last team to finish the Detour and jumping Greg and John, Joel and Garrett, Morgan and Lena, and Jocelyn and Victor.
Yep.
So it's just the luck of the draw. Are we all in agreement there?
Mm-hmm.
I guess when you have first place luck, because there is an element of luck to that too in the beginning legs, maybe it just balanced out for them. And sad to see them go, sad to cross them off my rankings. Now I have my number 1 and 2 out. And my number 13. So I'm all over the place at the ends of the spectrum there. Other kind of interesting results from the pit stop as a result of the roadblock. Joel and Garrett went from getting their second to finishing 9th. Morgan and Lena were 8th, but finished 10th. Jeremy and Liam jumped from 9th to 6th. Milena and Andrew, like we said, went from last out of the Detour to 7th. Was this, like we said, just kind of a luck of the draw, but was this also just the luck of where they were hidden? Thousands of these tiles, some seem to be more accessible or in closer proximity to the starting point versus others, or is there something else?
It's hard to tell because you didn't get like a zoomed out picture of where each person's tile was in relation to each other, in relation to their starting point, in relation to are they tiles on the inside, tiles on the outside. So I think it's too hard to tell, make that judgment.
I would agree with that.
Who was really the quickest one? Maybe it was Liam he was kind of in that area, and that was his as well, in that same kind of middle area where there was the big open space. And it seemed like, again, maybe that's editing, and I guess we can't know. It just seemed that one was maybe a little bit more obvious than others, but the area is the area. The tiles are in the spaces that they're in. There's no real way to ensure that they're equally hidden, right?
Yeah, and that also begs the question is, how did they get the tile that they were given? Right? Was that like a luck of the draw, or was that like if you come in first place you get this one, if you come in second place you get this one, right? And I think that also adds another element of luck into this. That's really where it was.
So are you saying perhaps producers had a hand in selecting who would get each tile?
Well, I don't know if that's the case, but I think that they could have said, this is number one, this is person who comes in number two, this is the person who comes in number three. and then whoever got that number was the number that they got, you know, and maybe, yes, some of them were easier, but I don't know if it was a choice that, like, if you come in fourth place, it's going to be an easier tile to find.
This was a needle in a haystack, but it wasn't as if there was 10,000 pieces of hay in each stack and equally all hidden in the middle of the haystack. The needle was. And in theory, I think the odds are that some of them were just closer to where they all started. One thing that stood out, I thought, at the roadblock was the attempts at strategy. And the biggest culprit of this was Annalee. We've been really talking about her and Steve and the success they've had now for a couple episodes. We had them lower ranked than we should have. We've already taken the lumps for that. Her asking people for help and trying to make kind of backroom deals on this when the pit stop is right there and then she's judging people on it. Good move, bad move, not necessary.
For this particular challenge, not a good move. Because everyone seemingly had a different tile that they had to look for. So, like, nobody's going to look out for her tile when they don't even have a picture of what hers looks like in front of them. It's like, this isn't the kind of activity where someone else could easily help you.
Yeah, and that's the design of this particular challenge.
Right. It's very much an individual activity.
But we get the bonus of Annalee kind of making enemies, which makes for better television, I think. Good.
It might be a hot take, but I think it's great strategy, because the pro is that she gets something out of someone else, and the con is that she can now hurt somebody else if something else happens, right? It gives you a reason to U-turn somebody. It gives you a reason to not give somebody an answer. It gives you a reason to whatever. In my mind, it's a pure strategy move that is no pro and no con. I think it's a great gameplay.
I think there is a con. The con is that she's wasting time talking to people instead of studying these tiles.
I don't know. Maybe you could say that that's also a pro, because it's taking your mind off of looking at the minutia of something and being able to zoom out and take a breather before you keep going.
I think it also zooms out onto her overall kind of game she's playing, which is, I would argue, the most unique, the most strategy driven.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So.
I really loved when she was dealing with the fish and she said, "Dad, I'm not touching that. You do this." And he said, "Great, that's who I am. I'm the dad I'm the Southern dad that's gonna go pick up these slimy fish for my daughter." And I
have that written down.
I think that showed a level of gameplay and understanding and communication and trust in each other that makes me think that they're going to go further. I know that we rank them pretty low, but I do think that they are a pretty strong team.
You think they're crossing the finish line?
I can't say that yet.
Nicole?
Like winners?
No,
of the whole thing?
Top three. The top three cross the finish line.
I think, you know what? I think they could be.
I think they're crossing the finish line.
Yeah.
I think I would go hot take. I think they finish maybe like third. My
take is no.
No,
I think the physical element is going to hurt them.
All right, we'll put a bookmark in that, but the arrow is pointing up on Steve and Annalee for sure. Speaking of the arrow pointing up, purple strikes again. It doesn't matter what year or what season it is. Purple team, bet on the purple team.
Yep.
That was luck. I think this is the only leg where we're going to see them with a win.
So you're selling all Robbin and Chelsea stock. You're not buying into this at all.
Not at all.
Why not?
I don't see it. I don't see any actual talent. It was just luck that they found the tile first.
Josh, luck or something else any other skin on the bone here?
There's two things. One, I kind of loved how Annalee asked Chelsea for help, And Chelsea said, no way, and then found the clue right away. There was something about like, I don't need you. I can do this myself. And I think that that is their attitude as these two stay-at-home moms who have been through it and have gone through it and done a lot. They went into the fish challenge and they got their fish and just boogied down and made it happen. And I think that that's really admirable for who they are.
Following this particular piece of the episode where they were freaking out, they were screaming, they were completely weirded out by touching the fish. This is not something they do. This is not their world. So in that sense, it was very real, relatable, and it was nice to see like that team do it on their own, get to the mat first, see the big smiles. I think that's a good story.
They don't need no man.
No, especially as the purple team. Purple. I'm not buying into their prospects to make a deep run like a Raquel and Kayla, Will and James, Derek and Claire, the past purple levels. But I mean, lavender and purple, 3 legs, 3 wins. This is what's happening, I guess, on the Amazing Race. Bet on the purple team, and you will see some major, major success. Let's go to the route info wish card. I don't know. It's not even a challenge. What is it? It's just a route info.
It's just a task.
Okay. Let's go to the route info task with the wish card. Some very interesting ones. I'll read a couple of them off. Steve and Annalise to be number 1 today. Joel and Garrett's Our Family is Good at Home. And they had those notes snuck into their bags by their family. We saw a couple of win the Amazing Races, win the $1 million, first place, race to the end, appreciate each other. And then we had one that wished for world peace. Todd and Ashley.
They're full of it.
They are so phony baloney. Come on.
Yeah, they're just ingenuine. Everything is like, every word out of their mouth is with the thought that there's cameras filming them. I feel that.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like they are archetypes of the Amazing Race too. You know, when you see them, you've seen them before in other seasons, and I think watching them carry those mattresses and hearing her complain, it was like, yep, we're doing this all over again. This is it. There's nothing new here. I think that they're doing this for the cameras. So I agree completely, Nicole.
Yeah, like, come on, world peace. It's just so, just a big eye roll, right?
Yeah.
Right, you want to come in first place or win the race. Like, okay, we could all stomach that. We can all accept that that's, yeah, you want to win the million. Yeah, you want to win the race. Yeah, world peace because we're here with culture. Like, shut up. Come on. Ridiculous. As much as that one was nauseating, I will point out that the winner of the wish card was none other than the beard and mustache guys with their family, sticking the notes in. Felt like a little Survivor love piece to it where they get the love from home.
My personal favorite part was him wiping his tears with his beard.
Yes.
It was so good.
Now, is that playing to the camera or is that genuine beard guy? Or is that Joel?
It was genuine.
I think they were playing to the camera, but this is why I ranked them solidly high, because I think that they know the camera and they are personable people and they are likable people and they're likable because of that. And they're silly and goofy and they're fun to watch. I don't know if we expected them to be here, but I think that they're going to be here for a little bit longer.
And you see their 5 kids. It looked like Garrett has a child with Down syndrome too, in that picture with his large family. And you just, when you see those kinds of things and the kind of family that's going to take notes and stuff them in there and open it at the right time, like, how do you not root for these guys?
Yeah.
So shout out Joel and Garrett. Shout out to their family. Really a heartfelt, good moment.
Yes, it made me like them more, for sure, after seeing this episode.
And we love seeing tears, but could we segue to some other tears that we saw?
What tears are those?
That would be Liam and Jeremy's during the detour. Okay, these guys seem awesome. They're the military brothers. During their deliver challenge, like, are these, like, what did these guys go through? They're constantly, like, it's like they're constantly in therapy or something when they're on camera and they're talking about their relationship. Do you guys see this too, or am I way off here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're just really emotionally connected people and spiritual in a lot of ways. So I think they just kind of sit down and they're so open that they're willing to share them a part of their souls. I connect with it. I think it's really I don't conversely to the other contestants that we're talking about, I don't see them as playing to the camera. I actually feel them as genuine, and maybe they are a little bit hippy dippy, but I do feel like they are just passionate people. They're there to play the game or there to have fun and to connect with each other.
I think it's through the exhaustion, the challenges, the
Dead last.
excitement, the highs, the lows. It brings out all of the deepest emotions in people, and it's made them very reflective of their relationship in the past, which clearly was very tumultuous. Going through all of this has made them very emotional and appreciative to have each other now. And I think that's why we're seeing so many emotional moments for them.
It is very real. I definitely connect with it in many ways as well, as an emotional person myself. I can't imagine what the experience would be like to do it with my brother. I think that would be overwhelmingly amazing. Not in the same ways as them, obviously, but I love that their wish cards said to race to the end with their brother. Again, that lands a lot differently than world peace. Like, come on.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that any of these teams are better or worse than the others. I think it's like Josh said, like, it makes you connect with them, and it seems like they're more genuine, which makes you root more for them, right? Are we like rooting for Liam and Jeremy at the top of our lists here?
I mean, I have them at number 2, so I've been rooting for them. Yes.
Right. Them, Joel and Garrett, right? A little emotion here, folks. Shed some tears. Be real. Be authentic. Don't say you're gonna wish for world peace. I'm sorry. It's just
I really loved when we saw Liam and Jeremy when they first entered the race, and they said, "We are in first place," and then they cut to Annalie and her dad, who are in first place. Just some of the brilliant, amazing race editing that I wanted to shout out.
We're gonna go to the detour, which was the majority of the episode, either the stand or the deliver. The stand was at this market in Vietnam where they had to pick up, transport, and properly display some fish. Or the deliver challenge, which was picking up 4 67-pound mattresses and delivering them to this hotel. Looks like we had our first physical challenge, Josh. You'd been saying we hadn't seen one yet. We haven't seen one yet.
Yep. And you know who dominated it? Liam and Jeremy. They are the strongest competitive team there. They did 2 mattresses in 2 trips and caught up so much time. I think once we start to get into more of these challenges, we're going to weed out teams in a very different way than we have seen so far.
That's one of the disadvantages to a Jocelyn and Victor. Even though they played a home game, going shopping in a market for fish, and Victor knows his fish, they couldn't really consider the other option. Yep. They were never going to move mattresses. It was never going to happen.
No.
Yep.
I loved this detour. I loved everything about it. I loved that there was a physical challenge option, because we haven't seen that yet.
A more physical one.
So, like, people like Jeremy and Liam could really shine in that way, which was a strength for them, and like use the strategy to do 2 mattresses. And like the mattresses were just heavy and awkward enough for it to be too difficult for most teams to do that 2-mattress strategy. I just loved seeing that aspect where, like, if you were really physically fit, you could shine in that. Or if you wanted to really try to do 2 at once, you could try to do that. And seeing the different methods of them holding them down the streets. And I think it was a great challenge. And then on the other end of it, the market, I loved the sensory overload that this challenge provided. It was so intense seeing, especially Milena and Andrea. Oh my God. It was Andrea who really struggled the most out of anyone.
Her voice never came down from being up here. Oh my God, it was here the whole time. Oh my God.
It just made for such an entertaining challenge to watch, but also, like, you got to see people try using strategy. Who can step up to the plate when it came time to stick your hand in that bucket of large eels, and who just freaked out?
Yeah, this challenge had it all. It had it. I want to go back to the sensory overload. As you're watching the market and even that street, because you had the great shots of the mattress people walking by the market and teams kind of having to see that, but no, they're doing their thing. And we even had John and Greg say, should we switch? Should we switch? And they're like, no, just beat Philly, Team Philly Johns. Like, that was a nice moment that the camera work and the close proximity of the 2 choices really played into nicely. But
there's that strategy of just don't be last.
Yes.
Just don't be last. As long as we beat Team Philly Johns, we're okay.
Yep. But the sensory of the smell of the market, the look of the market, it's overwhelming to begin with. And it's just this gigantic outdoor open air. You can only imagine how it smelled. How about touching the fish, touching the eels? Some of them had gloves, some of them didn't.
Hey, Tom and Nicole, which ones would you have done?
I think the mattress.
Wow.
I do. I think the mattress would have been the way to go. Even though I'm not the most physically fit person to do that challenge, I think the fact that you're going to one hotel to make all the deliveries makes a big difference. You're not having to navigate 4 different locations each time you're making a delivery. So it's really just a matter of how can we best figure out how to move this awkwardly shaped heavy thing.
Yeah, it was super floppy, looked awkward as hell. We saw kind of a covered wagon strategy where people kind of balanced it on their heads. Mm-hmm. And then we saw Joe and Ian doing the big U, like a hammock, hot dog one. Liam and Jeremy with was the tight hot dog. Right?
What do you think was the better choice?
I guess it depends on your partner, but
what if your partner was me?
If it was you, I think we would have ended up like Joe and Ian. I think I would have pushed for the 2 at the beginning.
Yep.
We would have exhausted ourselves. Mm-hmm. Probably ended up like Ashley with one of us breaking a finger. I would have made the pivot. I would have made the pivot friends joke, but it would have been funnier than Todd and Ashley's kind of non-dynamic version. It was just, at least somebody acknowledged it, but theirs was just, it didn't land. We would have done the 2 mattresses to start. We would have been exhausted. We would have probably done what John and Greg did and thought to switch because it looked like we were, but in the other way, we would have been like, why are we doing this? Let's just go grab some fish. This is ridiculous. And then we would have went from 2 matches to 1 and 1 and would have gutted it out as best we could. That's what I think would happen.
What do you think is better, Josh?
Well, I think reading the clue, I would have said fish absolutely. I am terrified of anything that says navigate the streets in any Asian country. And so I would have said, no way, Jose. And I'm not carrying a mattress up 4 flights of no. I am exhausted physically and mentally from not stopping from the last leg. This is now probably 3 or 4 days in a row they've been traveling. And at that point, I'm like, no, I am a meticulous, I'm a more linear person, and I can stack fish in a certain way. That's what I'm going to do. Do what you know. And that's what I would have done. But I did want to call out Joe and Ian, some personality being shown when they said strength and conditioning is not like a New York City air-conditioned gym. I just thought it was so evocative of who they are.
Yep, I turned to Nicole and said the same thing. I was like, "Ooh, that was very New York of them."
Yep. Yes.
That when they were in the coffee shop.
Oh, that too. They really when they were really
like, oh, you love this.
Right. They totally broke character in both those moments and really revealed their New York City selves.
Yeah.
Yep. I love that.
Because that was genuine though. Like that was genuinely who they are. And us being from New York, we totally know exactly who
we appreciate it.
Yeah, we know who they are.
Yeah, what I thought was interesting too is that every team except for one team did the challenge that I expected them to do. Okay, let's go. Morgan and Lena. They should have done market. They did market.
Mhm.
Victor and Jocelyn. They should have done market. They did market. Chelsea and Robbin. They should have done market. They did market. Steve and Annalie. They should have done market. They did market. Andrea and Milena. They should have done market. They did market. Joel and Garrett. They should have done mattress. They did it. Liam and Jeremy. They did it. They did mattress. Good. Todd and Ashley. Mattress. They should have done mattress. Joe and Ian. Corey and Rob. Mattress. Who's left?
John and Greg.
They're the physically fit brothers. Why are they organizing fish, dudes? Come on.
And not only that, Josh, they were literally as freaked out about it as anybody. I think it was, forgive me, I think it was Greg that was freaked out. That he was actually at one point singing the pain away.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. This is what I'm foreseeing as a huge flaw as a team. Whether they don't know themselves, whether they don't know what's going on, whether they have no strategy at all, it makes me worried to think that they would make it to the final 3 because I don't think they're going to get there.
I don't think so either.
Wow. Can I buy your John and Greg stock that you're selling right now? I mean, they had some strategy. At least they knew how to overcome it. They did consider the switch. They decided not to. Because I think a big thing too, as much as Josh's point's a good one here. Can we talk about the sweat stains? Did you catch those? Joel and Garrett had their dark blue became an even darker shade everywhere. Rob and Corey, same thing. Todd and Ashley went from orange to Texas burnt orange. I mean,
but at least they had just their own sweat, whereas people doing the other challenge had their own sweat mixed with fishy water.
Right, and I'm so happy you brought that up because I think that would have been a huge deterrent for me.
It's disgusting.
It's horrendous. And let me tell you something.
It smelled so bad.
Let me tell you something. I have been to Vietnam. I have been in these kinds of markets. I have smelled these smells. And that is the last thing you want. And that may be very New York of me. That may be very American of me. It's not as bad as what they must have smelled like when they were handling the durian. Because that smell takes the cake. If you're around that, you stink. It's the only thing you smell through the whole market. I'm telling you, it's horrendous.
You're also very sensitive to smell.
That is true, which is why I picked up on the sweat stains
You can't even go into a bagel store. Talk about New Yorkers. You can't go into a bagel store without being all bothered that he stinks like a buttered bagel.
I do say that every time.
Every time. Oh, I stink like a buttered bagel.
I know people are probably rolling their eyes like, oh, it's the greatest smell ever. It's like, no, it's great, but you don't want it lingering on you. And if you're in Vietnam and you're sweating and you're competing and yeah, okay, you can muster the courage to just grab the fish, handle the fish. But I'll tell you what, I want to know if John and Greg and Milena and Andrea packed those gloves, or if they had them, they were just sitting around, and if you were smart enough to see them and grab them, because that makes it doable, but still.
I bet they packed them, because I think every other team would have taken them if they were offered.
No, I think you're making a great point. I would have not thought about that. And especially, we don't see on TV the carryover from leg to leg, right? You kind of just see them as individualized tasks, and which one would you choose? But you have to think about, like, even earlier, they were the Team Philly was exhausted from doing the fish. When they got to the challenge, they were like, listen, you have to take this because I'm exhausted right now. And we don't necessarily play that into watching TV and watching it. So I give a shout out to everyone on The Amazing Race. It is a race. It is a journey, and it is difficult.
I think sometimes when we think about, well, which one would we do and who would do the roadblock, I think an interesting moment kind of cumulatively, like Milena and Andrea struggled mightily at the detour. Milena was just muscling Andrea through. We were cracking up at the one, like, just, what did she say? Just close your eyes and dump them in. And they're just slapping these fish into the red bucket. It was unbelievable. Suck it up, Andrea. She's just like, no, freaking out. They get to the roadblock. They're the last ones there. Everything, the stakes couldn't be higher. And Milena is like, I got this. Doesn't think twice. Steps up. She had to be the alpha for this leg. She's the alpha on that team. That was situational awareness. I got to do it. There's no way she's doing it. She stinks like fish. She's shell-shocked. Disaster.
It was the right move. It also was just a very exciting ending to the episode of this mega leg, which they rebranded as just a long leg.
A non-elimination, but not a non-elimination. Yeah.
And they've been through so much. And for it to end with them all basically there at the same time doing this needle in the haystack type of activity that pretty much came down to luck.
Yeah.
It made for a very exciting ending.
Yeah, it kind of felt like a final challenge without the cumulativeness to it. Okay, pull out your notes. What was that guy, the hat, or this guy, or the rat, but whatever the detail was there, or the flags, the whole thing. It felt like that, with that you're in this amazingly beautiful pit stop place, and you got to find this needle in a haystack to not win the million yet, but you got to do it to even move on, and everybody's got a chance.
It's also kind of amazing when they've gone through all of these challenges, all these tasks, and yet they all end up at the mat within.
Yeah.
Just to build on that, at the beginning we had Steve and Anna Lee leave at 8:56. Then we had a 9 o'clock, 9:12, 9:32, 9:44, 9:48, 49, 9:50, 9:51, 9:54, 9:56. The difference between first and 11th to begin was an hour. The difference between last and fifth place was 12 minutes.
Wow.
So the totality of leg number 3 shrunk the leads of the people when they started it last week. Yeah, you had the equalizer challenge with the time slots last time, and then it led to this continuing leg. It's just great design. It's just great game design, leg design, because it brought this 2-episode mega leg, Vietnam leg to this very, very exciting, awesome ending.
Yeah, I want to clock too that somehow it was part luck and part everything all coming down to this final wire where all the teams are together. And yet somehow we don't feel let down. You know, we feel like, well, that's the race. You know, you didn't find it. Sorry. And like Victor and Jocelyn, it sucks to see you go, but goodbye. And yet it is kind of, do they deserve to go home right now? Probably not. Right. There is like that element of luck, but we look at it as so exciting and, well, that's part of the game. So I think that's just an interesting thing to clock.
I agree, Josh. That's a good point.
So for my crossing the finish line, I wanted to also make note of something that I clocked while watching the episode, and that was how culture today supports and amplifies voices of people who set boundaries and who are aware. When we went to the fish challenge, there were a few teams who said, "I'm not doing that, you do this." And I think that if we were watching earlier episodes, somebody saying, "I'm not doing that, you do this," would come off as like bitchy and kind of like not a team player. Whereas nowadays we look at this as, like I said, somebody who states their boundaries and somebody who is open and communicative with who they are. And I think that that shows a lot of cultural progression. And I just support Amazing Race being an amplifier of how we capture the times.
To cross the finish line, I'm going to refer to the coming attractions for next week, where they are going to India, which...
Fasten your seatbelts, folks.
My prediction is that India always separates the men from the little boys, the women from the little girls, and I can't wait.
I'll close it out. I'll cross the finish line. I was blessed in my life to have an opportunity to teach English abroad in Vietnam. And these two episodes have hit home for me at the deepest of levels. Seeing the visuals on the Mekong, seeing the motorbikes going in all sorts of ways, seeing them carry the mattresses and talk about the chaos, seeing the open markets and thinking about those smells, thinking back to the durians and the fish and the people with their stands on the streets and the dragon fruits and the tangerines and the boats and the sounds, and all of it just takes me back to a truly, truly amazing once in a lifetime experience that I had. It's my favorite part probably of the entire show, is the window that this gives the viewers like us, like anybody else, no matter where you are, no matter how you're watching, into these recessed little corners and little, specks of dust in our giant, beautiful world. And I am just so grateful to have that experience and to be able to relive it in my own little way here through these episodes was just amazing. So before we go, let's just get a little update on our power rankings now that we have our third team eliminated, Jocelyn and Victor. Again, my heart breaks. I'm so sad. My number one team goes out. Nicole's number 9, Josh's number 6. So when we deduct those points, we deduct the 9 from Nicole's score, the 1 from mine, and the 6 from Josh. That puts Josh still running out in front with a low score of 64.
Thank you.
Second place, after that 9 comes off her score, leaving her with a low score of 71. And rounding it out in dead last is me at 75. Folks, this is abysmal. I have my number 1 and number 2 out, which, to be fair, if you go back to the Power Rankings podcast, it could have went my top 4. I really could have done in any number of ways. And I think we all kind of said that kind of same thing, but But my one saving grace is I did have Elizabeth and Ileana at number 13. So I did able to get that big number off the board. I was able to get that. So that's keeping me at least within striking distance, or maybe from just not falling off the planet completely. But that'll do it for us. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Nicole, for being here.
You're welcome.
Please check us out at tribalcouncilblog.com to check out all of our content for The Amazing Race, the ReRACeables Podcast, as well as on YouTube. Check out the ReRACeables Podcast there. Listen and watch there. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe on Instagram and YouTube. And also check out the Survivor content, my blog, tribalcouncilblog.com, covering Survivor 45 all season long. So more good stuff coming all season long for both shows. Appreciate you all being here, and we will see you next week. The blog has spoken.